our background.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, no, I think I was having a little technical difficulties. So great. Hello, everyone. So are you able to hear me? Good afternoon, firstly, and thank you for waiting for us. Great, we'll just begin. So good afternoon again, everyone, and thank you for waiting for us. And welcome to the first of the many webinars from the laundry edition of the Clean Middle East magazine called Learning Through Dialogue series. Now, these series are sponsored by Alliance Laundry Systems and Reza Hygiene, and the laundry edition is the first of its kind webinar series dedicated to the region's laundry and dry cleaning industry hosted by the magazine. Now, in these challenging times, I believe the only way forward is to talk about it. Now, through dialogue, we gain insights, we raise standards, we create new ideas, and maybe even unlearn a few things. Now, with the world slowly opening up post the lockdown, it's definitely important to bounce back, especially for the laundry industry. But we need to remember that the pandemic is not over as yet. We are currently living with it, but with a lot more responsibility. Now, taking us through the various lessons that we learned in the last few months and how to use them to run a sustainable business in the market is Mr. Marco Oleotto, the CEO of Clean Swift Laundry from UAE, and Mr. Ian Harris, the Director of Laundry and Textile Consultancy from South Africa. So good afternoon, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you to Omega, and thank you for the invitation.
Hi there, and good afternoon to everybody.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Great. So before we begin this discussion, or rather the dialogue, I'd like to remind the audience to use this opportunity to post in your questions in the chat box, and I shall address them in the course of our discussion, because as I said, it's only through these dialogues that we can truly learn. So let's just begin. I want to start off with you, Mr. Marco. What has been the impact for the laundry industry in the region? Like, what are some of the key lessons that we've learned, especially in the last few months of the pandemic?
Okay, so Dubai and UAE is not an exception in respect to all the world of what is going on. Okay, so this outbreak caused a lot of business issues, of course, in Dubai and in the laundry industry as well. Okay, so I can see now that compared, for example, to the busy period that was in December, January, the laundry volumes and business dropped up to 80-90%. So very, very huge. A lot of hotels are closed and they may reopen maybe end of the year. I heard somebody will open also beginning 2021. Who is opening? Average occupancy is about 20-30% or more than that. Only a few of them there is 50-60% of occupancy. And this occupancy is mostly for the staycation guests, because as we know, flights are not open yet. So we are not getting any tourists inside here. And the laundry business, along with other business, are very linked to the tourists here. So meantime, we have to live with it. It's only the people who already reside here, like as residents, they can benefit for the hotels industry meantime. So we rapidly move from a situation where the existing commercial laundries were not enough to sustain all the hotels' business, the needs and the clients, even more coming on, was projected in 2020 for the Expo, to the situation where the laundries are now very actively going on the market to try to get further customers, additional customers, to sustain financially the business. So this is completely changed scenario only in 3 months' time. And this is also, of course, as the CEO of the two companies, this made me think how to run all the businesses and to find the new solutions and to adapt to the new situation as well. Okay, there are differences between, honestly, the hospitality laundry and the healthcare laundries, because the hospitality laundries will work with hotels, of course, are suffering about this situation, where the healthcare laundries are doing just the opposite. Okay, unluckily for the situation, of course, but they're taking advantage for this outbreak cause a lot of people get ill, and so they are working even more compared to before. And I believe that healthcare also business, of course, compared to hospitality, now in the future will be even more, worth it and valuable for who is doing the laundry on the side. So when the situation about this outbreak and in terms of tourism will go back, okay, I'm not saying to the previous situation, but it will back to some extent of the normality. This situation will come back when the inbound flights will start to open. Okay, without inbound flights, Dubai, as any other cities in the world, it cannot have tourism, and so we cannot get more business for the laundries here. Taking also in mind that the quarantine period will definitely affect the tourists worldwide. Okay, so there is two situations now. The first situation, when with these airlines will open, they are able to open, okay, to other countries to come in Dubai. This is the one step. The second step is just after that. I believe is more than psychological thing that really what is the problem, that the people need to be confident again to fly, okay, to travel worldwide, okay, and so the business itself and the tourism itself, we go back to a certain extent to the previous level. I was just reading a few days ago that one interview in the one magazine, okay, that Dubai will not go back, never back as before. So that was really, really interesting to read and very also alarming to read about. We know Dubai in the previous crisis in 2008 was in situations to lend money from Abu Dhabi, from their cousins, and was a problem there. Now the situation also, because of this pandemic, and also because the expo is postponed for 1 year, is causing a lot of issues for Dubai tourism and not only. So they are also looking for some, money to sustain the country. I read about the population. They are expecting as a forecast to shrink by 10% UAE, and they're expecting 90,000 jobs to be lost in UAE. Okay, this is a part of this outbreak and the consequences that just now we start to see. It's not even the full picture of it. Okay, but I'm an optimistic manager, like always, and I believe that if not in a few months, in a year time, we are able to see to go back to some extent to what was a normality before in terms of business-wise, with a lot of way of thinking and a lot of difference in, say, on the way to do business. But in terms of volumes and everything, I really believe that we will go back to very, very soon to that. I cannot believe, Mega, that we cannot anymore shaking hands or hugging, meeting each other. And I cannot believe also, honestly, that in 1 year time, that we need still to wearing masks and gloves, okay? Because it's not sustainable and not feasible also, I believe, as a normal life. I'm just thinking, I'm going time to time to the groceries, right? So in the groceries, it's mandatory now to use to wear masks and gloves and to keep this social distancing that I not even call them social distancing. I call it body distancing, okay? But when you're going to pick up things and food on the shelves and you meet people, of course, and so even there you're not keeping any 2 meters like was a social distancing to keep, no? So I'm guessing also, which is the word of in meeting a lot of people when they're doing the grocery things and when they're going to pay the bill or the cashier, okay, that side, already you need to keep 2 meters when you already met a lot of people during your walk away.
I'm sure.
So
I
yeah,
mean, the entire new normal is something that everybody is now slowly trying to get used to. I
yes.
just want to ask Mr. Ian right now. I mean, what exactly is the situation like in South Africa or in Africa in particular for the laundry industry? Or there, is it the same? Are we facing the same storm, as I would like to ask?
It's a similar song, but it's probably a little bit more desperate here than what it is in certainly like in Europe or in Canada. I think everybody should be fairly well aware of the fact that South Africa has probably had some of the most stringent lockdown facilities almost in the world. And today, on the 1st of June, we've actually gone down to level 3 instead of the last couple of months where we've had level 4 and 5. And for the first time in just over 2 months, the laundry industry has been allowed to, or laundry and dry cleaning industry is allowed to open up and start trading. So, as you can well imagine, it's been pretty desperate here. And although South Africa is considered almost the financial powerhouse of Africa, we are really, so I mean, we were in a difficult situation before the advent of COVID-19, but this has just made it a little bit worse because where, for example, let's take somewhere like Canada, where as a result of having a very strong association, they were able to make representation to the government, and the laundry and dry cleaning industry were classified as essential industries right from the word go, and they were kept open because of their contribution to health and safety. Whereas here in South Africa, we don't have a strong association, and we also, the approach here is to get as many people as entrepreneurs to come into an industry. And of course, you know, the laundry industry is considered to be a very easy type of industry to get into. You just want a little washing machine and hey presto, you're in business. And without wishing to be silly about it, everyone seems to know, and especially every woman seems to know more about laundry than any man is or any launderer is likely to ever know in their life. And you think about it, the laundry is the second oldest profession in the world. Adam and Eve got the sheets dirty and Eve had to wash them. And so because everyone else knows so much about laundry, that, you know, people who are out of work, they want to start up a business, they want to earn a little bit of money, and so they get themselves a Speed Queen top loader, and they then wash in cold water, offer a price which is remarkably low, and so for the commercial laundry industry to try to compete with that, it becomes a major problem because they can't do that. They've got to pay salaries, they've got to pay for steam and water, which in a smaller environment is not such a tragic issue. And so that is one element. And of course, the other one, which Marco was talking about, as a consequence of the COVID-19, the hospitality industry, of which, I mean, you think about it, South Africa is being a tourist hotspot, you know, from around the world. Tourism contributes something like between 8 and 12% of our GDP. And, you know, when you've got anything up to 30 or 40 jumbo jets a day flying into South Africa, loaded with 300 and 400 people at a time, it gives you some idea of the scale of the tourism that we have. And so the moment the hotel industry has to shut up, which it's done for the last couple of months, it has totally decimated the industry. And so we've got two different things which are occurring. One, we've got a huge proliferation of very small entrepreneurial one-man band type laundry starting up, undercutting the commercial laundry in virtually every centre. And then for those commercial laundries that have got the big contracts with the hospitality industry, they've just got no work coming in, and virtually all of the hospital work, certainly, you know, from the provincial and government side, that's all being done at this stage within the provincial administration, within the government laundries. And so it's only the private hospitals that would ever use a commercial laundry. And many of the larger private hospital groups have got their own laundry anyway. And so the whole of our industry here in South Africa is in dire, and I really mean dire, financial straits. And I'm just thinking of one of the largest, or the largest, privately owned commercial laundry in South Africa, laundry called Spot On. It's got, just this in one plant, they've got 5 CBWs, or continuous batch washers, operating, and they're working 7 days a week for 12 hours a day. At least that's what they were doing. Now they've got 2 CBWs operating for literally 4 or 5 hours for 5 days a week, and nothing else is coming in. And so, that is an example of just how badly we've been affected, and the changes which are occurring as a consequence of the environment right now that we're living in, as well as the economic pressures which are being placed upon us. The rand also, because this is one of the biggest problems that we've had as a result of political mismanagement. Literally a year ago, we were talking about 14 rand to the pound. Today, it's sitting at 22 rand to the pound. And so for any launderer, when we're buying in, it doesn't matter whether we're buying in our chemicals for detergents, or whether we're buying new machinery or buying textiles, that within the last year, the price of everything has gone up by something like 40 to 50%. And that is very difficult for any industry to sustain that sort of price increase and upward pressure on prices, which is putting the downward pressure on profitability. So there you have it. It's not a good situation. And, the next thing is to start talking about what the future has got in store and what can we do. And I've spoken to many people about it. It really is a logistic nightmare, saying, well, what are we going to be able to do? Have we got to wait for those laundries that were already near the bone to collapse and die, so that then when things do start getting back to normal, which are going to take at least another 6 or 9 months, if not longer, before the international community starts wanting to travel and start building everything back up again.
That kind of world over, where a lot of laundries are not able to sustain the kind of pressure that the pandemic has put on everyone. So my next question to you is, in that sense, how do laundries provide a more sustainable business approach?
Okay, there's not a tremendous amount as we talk today that they can do. What they can, or what I believe they should be doing, is planning for the future. And they should be taking this as an opportunity to streamline and make their business more efficient, more productive, more capable, and they should be looking at other income streams related to the industry. And one example that I immediately comes to mind is that although something like textile rental is a worldwide growth potential or opportunity for all launderers, that here in South Africa, we've had a form of textile rental since the late 70s, when you had companies like Steiner offering roller towel, the 40-meter towel, on a rental basis. They also offered garment rental. But they are only really the 2 major textile rental sustainable business operations which have grown and have any impact on the market, whereas there is no linen rental. And when I think about the number of hotels that we've got here, I think of one hotel group like Tesco Sun with 15,000 hotel rooms in South Africa. The opportunities for textile rental or linen rental are really phenomenal. But on the other hand, the cost to purchase those textiles, to offer a textile or linen rental service, is also prohibitive. And so you've got to get your business economic and efficient, running smoothly, good productivity, and then once you've got that productivity and the work starts coming back in again, they've got to start looking at the investment into other avenues like the linen rental. Now, there have been some exploratory moves into the domestic type market, where some companies are moving into, and we've got a couple of pioneer companies here, which are using the internet, social media for door-to-door collection and delivery of domestic household laundry and dry cleaning. And that is receiving a form of a mixed bag type of reaction. In some areas it's working moderately well, in other areas it's dying a natural death.
True. Mr. Marco, I want to pull you into the discussion now where we're talking about linen rental, some of the initiatives that Mr. Ian had spoken about, but what are the initiatives that you have taken, at this time in order to, sustain your business approach?
Yes, so I can divide this in two categories. So initiatives that we are going to take, we are taking inside the laundry itself, and some initiatives that we are going to propose outside to the clients. I agree with Ian with there are not too many balls on the air, okay, to play with, and so we are like trying to get as much as we can from there. So now the new trend in the business practices is green. To be green, started already years ago, by the way, not now, and will continue to get even more attention now in the future. So industries and customers are like seeking actively these eco-friendly services and partners. So the companies are moving towards these business habits. So for the laundry, what does it mean? That the laundries, this translates to limiting the energy, for example, the electricity and steam, okay, and the water. So focusing on environmentally friendly processes. Okay, this involves also the plastic side and the chemicals. More sustainable for the laundry will be more competitive, and with the clients, of course. That was thinking that with the possibility, hopefully, to redirect part of the savings to the clients. There could be in terms of price reduction or in additional services to them. So I'm going to the point. Internally speaking, so investing in new equipment, for example, Ian knows better than me about this. So new washer structures, okay, they can save more water, so will be more efficient, because efficiency will be a very key point for the laundries. Was also, by the way, but now even better. So using the CBW equipment, whoever is not using still, in order to preserve water and boost productivity, using the recycled water system, even though, for example, the plants are running, I'm not using a full water system recovery, but I'm using to recover the water for the CBW and for the other equipment that we are using too, okay? I'm speaking about who is using boilers to heat the water. Okay, we're using boilers, so gas. So there is also recovery that produced from the laundry water boiler system that will recycle the heat. I can save quite significant amount in energy process. And the solar solutions. So we are living in Dubai, UAE. So what 40, 50 degree for 8 months in a year. Okay, so the solar solutions should allow the companies to meet their water requirements through this renewable energy. Fleet optimization, so how to optimize your fleet. Okay, so cutting routes and through the dedicated software, other technological tools. And the detergents also, these low temperature detergents and chemicals. And so moving to wash at average 75 degree in the CBW to 40 or 50 degree, even 50 degree even, okay. These are all the initiatives that I was looking and taking even before the COVID. Okay, now maybe this situation is only emphasize all the things. From outside, so to go into the clients, like Ian said, the vast majority of the businesses are depending on one source income. Okay, so the laundry is the sell. My portfolio, we are as a hospitality industry, are only the hotels in the meantime, or let's say 90% are hotels. Okay. So as a finance manager, let's say, I'm trying to diversify the portfolio, trying to propose new services to the clients. That could be the cleaning services, for example. Okay, so to clean the hotels as a cleaning company, or assisting other laundries when they have overflow. That now is not the case, of course. And I'm talking about this. I just received a lot of inquiries about these government laundry projects. Okay, where these hotels are taking these. I don't say, but the quarantine cases, people and guests. Okay, so to work with them as a government project. Rental linen also, like Ian said very well. Rental linen it's 90% of the laundries in Europe are using this. Okay, and rental linen in UAE is still not there, or not like it's supposed to be. One day will come, I believe, very, very soon. But the cost of it, even for the laundries, is very high now. So buy linen inventories of this, it's really an headache. Also, we are looking at all these all-in-one services. I told you about the cleaning. We are thinking about to provide hotel staff, to provide catering people also. So it's very common in Europe, but the laundries are aggregating other suppliers to send one service only to the client. Okay, I'm trying to see if it's feasible here, where we are already for the hotels. The one of the major loan contractors. Okay, so at the end of the month, the owners, when they're writing a check to the laundry, they're writing a big check. So we are already there. We are partners of there. So why not try to propose them one package, all the services they need, and you go ahead with this. Another point that is very, I love to Ian is the OPL businesses. Like Ian, we talk about already. I don't believe on OPL laundries and successful on this. Okay, and we are offering to the hotels that they have already to take them over, and we are running for them with a revenue sharing business model, where it's a win-to-win situation. Okay, because of course the hotel, they want to get rid of it, or this of all the costs, and they are not able to manage it. Okay, and we are able to provide sharing again the revenue to additional services to them with a minimal incremental of cost only. So we are providing only, for example, the staff to them. Okay, and some operational like packages and everything. All the rest is in charge of the hotel. Yeah.
I mean, of course, we will be getting into the whole discussion of the OPL in some time. For all those who have just come in, we have spoken about the general impact that the pandemic has had in the laundry industry in the region as well as in Africa. And of course, we have spoken about a sustainable business approach right now. What kind of initiative the Clean Swift is taking, what are some of the suggestions that Mr. Ian also had discussed regarding linen rental. So, Mr. Ian, I just want to take this discussion forward. But before that, I'd also encourage the audience to, pose in your questions as and when. As I said, this is a dialogue after all, and we really want to know from you as well, your opinions and your questions for our speakers as well. So coming back to our discussion, Mr. Ian, I just want to know, just to take forward more initiatives that have actually worked in South Africa, especially to generate more revenue, like, Mr. Marco was talking about have worked for him as of now.
Look, I didn't want to be I know what you want to ask the question, but Marco raised so many issues there that I could spend the next 2 or 3 days talking about in terms of green issues and carbon emissions and you know, what I get concerned about is that very, very often the launderer, because of lack of training, lack of technical expertise, lack of understanding, doesn't actually know where to go. That they are running around and they're always looking at ways of trying to cut costs instead of trying to make their business more efficient and more productive. Everyone wants to try to steal the customer from their competitor, and the only way they're going to steal that customer is by reducing the price, without realizing that by reducing the price they're cutting their own throat, because you know you've got certain things that you've got to do. Yeah, I might sound as if I'm digressing slightly, but I just want you to just hang on in there with me for a moment. That the first thing is that everyone, when we're looking at running our laundry, they want to try to find ways of cutting costs. Detergent suppliers, they want to shift product. And so what they end up doing is going to the launderer and saying, you can get the same result, you can get the same effect if you use our detergent, and we specially formulated our detergent so you can wash in technically cold water. Now, I think that is a story that every single one of us has heard. And on the other hand, when I look at, and I'm going to be very naughty now, that one of the world's largest detergent suppliers is a company called Ecolab. And they have been promoting for the last year or so low temperature washing using a product which got the acronym PAP in order to lower the or to give disinfection, but chemical disinfection, but in technically cold water. And that sounds magic, because the laundry industry, the management are so poorly trained, they don't even know what questions to ask. Now, I'm using the name Ecolab because here in South Africa, literally about 4 weeks ago, a television advertisement came on for a dishwashing product called Finish. And in that advertisement, they are saying that you cannot kill the bacteria on your dishwashing, in terms of your food or plates and knives and forks, at temperatures of 35 degrees C. You need 71 degrees C or 70 degrees C to kill all the bacteria in your dishwasher, and the dishwasher is the only way of doing it, and using Finish, you will get the right result. But Finish happens to be a product which is manufactured and supplied by Ecolab. And so you've got Ecolab on one hand talking about laundering products, that you don't need to wash at high temperature, you can get everything clean at low temperature, so you're saving energy, you're saving money, and all the rest of it. But then on the next breath, they're saying, but to wash dishes, to get rid of your bacteria, you've got to wash at 70 degrees C. And so we got this dichotomy that even the detergent suppliers are not giving the same story. Now, why am I laboring on this? It's because everyone is looking at ways of constantly cutting costs instead of doing their job more cost effectively. And Marco raised the issue just now about using heat recovery, using water recovery. There are ways of being able to, even with conventional washing machinery, not washer extractors, but just using conventional washing machinery with double and single water recovery, you can get down to as little as 10 to 11 litres of water per kilogram of work processed, where conventional wash processing, you're using typically 32 litres. Now, even with a washer extractor, if you've got a good detergent supplier that is technically competent, that they can provide, because the majority of the work coming into the laundry, especially from the hospitality industry, and the vast healthcare industry, is medium to light soiled. And so how many laundries do I visit on almost a daily type basis, where they are using a conventional, with a washer extractor, a 2-stage wash process and a 3-rinse process. Whereas you can actually get better results using 2/3 or less of the amount of water and saving yourself a shed load of energy by giving a single stepped wash and 2 rinses with intra-extracts in between. And you can drop your water consumption down to 15 litres per kilogram without any trouble at all. You get a darn sight better result and you use less energy. But again, because of the lack of training, that the majority of the launderers, they don't know anything about what's going on in their laundry. They rely upon the textile supplier to tell you what textiles you should be having. They rely upon the detergent supplier to tell them what chemicals that they're going to use. And half the time, the launderer doesn't even know what questions to ask to verify that he's doing the job properly. We talk about low temperature washing as an example. Now, you talk to the majority of the chemical suppliers and they will say, look, they can be using EMPA test pieces, and look at the test results. We compare the results on EMPA test pieces with a high temperature wash versus our low temperature wash, and the results will come out the same. So you can save yourself 40-50% on your energy. And that's great, except the one test piece that they will not show you is the vegetable oil. The vegetable oil EMPA type test piece, because that is covered in highly refined things like olive oil, as well as the fats from the body. And you cannot remove them until you get over 71 degrees C. Now, we're not even talking about bacteria. We're talking and hygiene. We're just talking about soil removal. And when you've got a polyester cotton fabric, it's even more difficult to remove these highly refined edible oils off the fabric, even at elevated temperatures. And so we all get sucked in to these promises and then suddenly find that the quality of the work that we're producing is reducing. And as a result of the reduction in the quality, the hotelier or the hospital says, I can do a better job than what the laundry is doing, so I'm going to open up my own OPL. Which brings us on to one of the last questions that I know that we've discussed and raised a little bit about the use of OPLs. All right.
Yeah, well, I think we need to open that Pandora's box because we've got a few questions as well coming in from the audience.
I'm sorry, I get quite emotional and carried away by it because I see so much going on and so much waste going on that we could do so much to make our business more efficient instead of running around and trying to steal contracts from other laundries. Let's get our own business running economically and efficiently and as productive as it should be. But anyway, all right, I will shut up and I will.
No, I think it's time because we have a lot of questions coming. We'll take in a few questions as we go. Mr. Raghu Harihar has informed us, like, when the hotels are craving for more business and create sales and maximize the profit, how will the commercial laundry handle this situation where hygiene is kept as high priority, as hygiene costs money, and how is this balance appeared? So I guess let's open the Pandora's box by first addressing that question, the need for OPL right now in this current situation, especially with all the hotels closed down and slowly opening up. So this is one question that will definitely come into everyone's mind, and then get into Mr. Harihar's question. One of you would want to start this?
Well, I mean, I'm quite happy to give it a go, but Marco is the one who's at the sharp end. He's running a couple of factories. Yeah. So let him sort of comment, and when he runs out of steam, I will throw in my 2 penneth.
So, OPL laundry, right?
Yes.
So, OPL laundries, I can tell you why I not believe there are still a good point for the hotels to have. Okay, Ian, I think will be sustaining this theories, whatever. So, saving is a result of economy of scale, I'm calling it. So, the high volume laundries allows labor to be more productive. They're supporting investments in high-end equipment and helps conserving water, whatsoever. So many small businesses don't process enough laundry, so enough volumes to be able to achieve these savings. The OPL laundry, for certain point of view, is working like a commercial laundry. Okay, so commercial laundry, I'm producing, let's say, profits. Okay, when working fully, so it's a bulk business. Okay, then you are able to make money only when you are running a full capacity. Okay, so the OPL laundries in this way, they are not, and they are not because they are not able to scale up and down as they need, and because there is no a pay-as-you-go service model there, in the sense that when the occupancy will go up and down, the variable cost of this outsourcing laundry, they allow us to pay only for the service that they need. Okay, instead of keeping manpower, staff, of course, and equipment and everything, that this is a cost, fixed cost for them, that are not able to pay back whenever the occupancy will go down to a certain level. So maintaining the staff, in-house staff, and upfront capital expenses, don't forget this depreciation cost of machines, are not depending on the hotel occupancy, in the sense that if you are not having anyhow enough business for the hotel, you need to pay anyhow. So that's why I believe this. I believe is the OPL is no more there. That's why a lot of hotels are inquiring me to please take over the laundry. Okay, we will have a sharing model between us, but I don't want to think about anymore.
Sure. Mr. Ian, you want to add to that?
Yeah. All right. I've already indicated in our earlier discussion before we open this up that I've got some fairly strong views regarding the use of an OPL. And one of the key reasons why any organization wants to start up an OPL is that they feel that the laundry cost is too high and they can do it cheaper themselves. And I say, okay, that's great, that's exciting. Let us just take one silly example, the ironing of a sheet. Now, it doesn't matter. I want you to wrap your mind around the idea of, let's say, just for example, and it doesn't matter whether it's $10, 10 rupees, 10 rand, or we're going to use a number of 10 as being the salary cost or the salary that you're going to pay each employee. And so let's say in an OPL, you're going to iron a sheet, and that you've got a single roll, electrically heated return feed ironer, which is a typical type of thing that will go into an OPL. And you'll have two staff that are going to be operating that machine. And at best, they're going to be producing somewhere around 40 odd sheets an hour. And so if we take those 40 sheets and we got the two staff at 10 units, 10 rupees or $10, it doesn't matter. That's 20 units of currency which you're going to pay. So divide those 40 sheets by the 20 that you're paying out. So you're looking at an item of 5 currency units per sheet in just the labor to iron it. Now let's look at a commercial laundry. Now, a well-managed commercial laundry with a 4 or 5 roll, 600 mil diameter rollers operating at 10 bar steam pressure, they will have 2 girls feeding, and if they got semi-automatic or automatic folding, they might have 1 or 2 girls on the back folding or stacking and putting things away. And so you've got 4 girls who are operating. But if that machine is operating with good vacuum, good conditioned rolls, and the clothing, and all the other parameters, and the deep traps and everything are working, they should be able to produce between 800 and 1,000 sheets an hour. So let's say they're producing 1,000 sheets an hour and they got 4 girls operating. So that's 40 units or 40 currency units now divided by 1,000. And so how much is it going to cost? 0.04. of a currency unit, 4 cents to iron a sheet versus the 5 that it's going to cost in an OPL. Now, if you just use that one little piece of logic and just ironing a sheet, you start then looking at even a washing machine, that in a commercial laundry, if they're running that laundry properly, they'll be operating to a good degree of loading, and they'll be making sure that they're operating, depending upon the size of the machine, at either 56, 72, or 100 grams per litre. Because the bigger the diameter, remember that the washing cleaning process is a function of time, temperature, detergency, and mechanical action. And mechanical action is the most important one because it's like bashing the sheets on the river, on the stones in the river. If you can't get the mechanical action, when you're washing your hands, if you don't rub your hands together, you're not going to get the dirt out. However, how many times do you go into an OPL that has got a small 30, 40, 50 kilogram washer extractor and they have packed it solid and there's no mechanical action? You sit there and you watch the washing machine and the same item is rotating around in a circle in the middle of the sight glass in front of the washing machine. There's no mechanical action. They're not washing properly. The mixing time, it's an unmitigated disaster. And when we start looking at hygiene, because remember that one of the silver linings that have come out from the use of, or from the advent of COVID-19 is that the public has suddenly become aware of hygiene issues. And because of the publicity, we're now being told, and we've known it for years, but everyone has ignored it, that the only difference between a hotel guest and a hospital patient is that the hotel guest has not yet been diagnosed. Now, we're being told that you can have COVID-19 for up to 14 days and be highly contagious, but you will not display any of the symptoms. They're also talking about people that are asymptomatic, which means that they can carry the infection without displaying any symptoms. And so it's now becoming critical that everything is washed hygienically clean. And you can't wash everything hygienically clean if you're not washing properly with the right temperature, with the right chemicals and everything else. And an OPL cannot work. You cannot have an OPL operating, and I will guarantee, I'll put money on the table, you get a swab infected with any form of bacteria and put it into a wash process in an OPL and do a hygiene, do a log kill rate for bacteria kill, and you will be horrified by how much bacteria is left behind. Whereas you put that same swab into a wash process in a commercial laundry with the correct degree of loading and washing at 80 degrees C, and you will get a 10 to the power of 9 log kill rate, which means it's hygienically clean. We're also going to get rid of all of the edible oils and fats and so on. Why are we not doing it as a laundry industry? Now, in order to overcome that, what I've done here, or what we've done in South Africa, is let's tell the whole story. Back in 1999, I wrote a best practice standard for the laundry industry, and it was adopted as a standard by the South African Bureau of Standards and was published in 2000. Unfortunately, over the last 10 or 12 years, it's gone through a bit of a metamorphosis and has now become an unwieldy document. And for the last couple of years, we've since split that document and modified it. And in March of this year, we published the Best Practice Standard, SANS 10146, Part 1, Laundry Processes. And as we talk today, because it was a voluntary standard and it wasn't mandatory, we've now given it over to what we call the National Regulator for the Compliance with Standards. In other words, this standard is now going to become a legal mandatory requirement for every single laundry that falls within the definition of a laundry, or every facility that falls within the definition of a laundry must comply with it. and they're going to be audited, and they're going to have a certificate of compliance once they comply. Because the laundry industry will not do it of their own accord because they say it's too expensive, we can't do it, and the customer won't accept the price. But the price is that people are dying, people are getting infected. And if you look for example, in Europe, and we talk about, and one of the yardsticks I use is hospital-acquired infections. That is, you go into hospital for illness A, and you pick up an infection whilst you're in hospital, and you come out with another one, which means that you've got to go back into hospital again, or you've got to have more medication. Now, in Europe, or certainly in countries like Germany, that they've got something like a 4 to 5% hospital-acquired infection rate. And we know that a lot of those infections are picked up off the textiles because there is not a medical procedure that does not involve the use of textiles in all of their various forms. And now I look in a country like my own country here, South Africa. Did you know they do not publish the hospital-acquired infection rates because they are so horribly high? And that is because no one is following the rules and they're not doing the job the way they're supposed to be doing it. So I rest my case. Back to you. Yeah. Because you get me.
Another question that's coming
on. You get me going on this, and I'm going to keep going for the next couple of days. I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'm back to you.
Definitely. I mean, there is a few questions that have come about, and one of the key thing is, of course, another point that we had kept in our agenda is the entire ripple effect of the COVID-19 impact, and how one can actually re-establish one's connection with the suppliers, starting from the client to the service provider to the suppliers. So, Mr. Marco, could you shed some light on this? On what are the best ways one can actually re-establish one's connection with their suppliers?
But yes, honestly speaking, you never cut this connection, of course, with the suppliers, and it's just the opposite. We were very, very more engaged with them in the sense that to have more choice and sense to find strategic ways to work together. Okay, so because now the question is that we have to adapt to the new demands of the current global pandemic. Okay, that may be also permanent. We don't know this. To some extent, will be there, and there's a radical change in the way to do business, to operate. So with the workers utilizing a plethora of remote workings and tools and services. So in terms of suppliers, these digital assets could be an utility instead of like electricity and plumbing. We are trying to create these creative partnerships in digital economy, can create a better business for us. I believe that that the spread of this COVID will be contained, and the scientists will find remedies, vaccines, and everything. We will go back to partially to the previous way of doing business. Of course, humanity has gone through many pandemics in the past, so this will be, of course, not the first and not maybe the last one. Okay, so everyone, I told you, we go back to hugging and shaking hands and everything. Like also Ian was said before, instead of thinking to find a way or business survive the short term of the pandemic, we are looking to make a long or medium long term, let's say, plan, because what we learn is we need to adapt, okay, to this new situation. So now it's not more enough to monitor and look to ways to cut losses, like Jan says also. Okay, we must think creatively, so with agility and take advantage of the situation, the opportunities, We need the new technologies, new skills to learn. We need to have the ability to adapt to the new norms and protocols that will be there, and to reevaluate how to do the business. I think now is the perfect time to strain this relationship with the suppliers and work in more efficient way. Efficiency now will be a really key point. Was already before there, but now we are more a key point for the business.
True. We have an interesting question that's come about the air conditioning and environmental parameters in the commercial laundry has a cost involved. Now, the current COVID needs a perfect hygiene situation for commercial laundries in terms of staff. So almost all commercial laundries, the employee hygiene is quite poor, they sweat a lot. So how does this look in the commercial laundry? So Mr. Marco, do you want to address that?
So now, of course, we are adapting to all the new rules and regulations now. Okay, so for sure, the COVID is a highlight that the hygiene, sanitization at all levels was not enough. And I'm not talking about laundries. I'm talking a bit overall. So we are adapting in the sense that, of course, we are using the PPE tools for all our staff. The sanitization of the laundry itself on the offices and from A to Z is going to daily basis, more deeper compared to before. Okay, and this I think will stay for a long period of it. And so we are adapting again to be more agile, to learn and to be very, very flexible towards what they're asking for. And of course, will be some additional costs from the launders of that. Okay. Now, how to redirect eventually or partially redirect eventually to the clients, that will be for sure a problem. We are running. I'm talking about UAE, but not only UAE. Okay, in very let's say price-sensitive markets. Okay, so where laundry unfortunately is considered only as a commodity and not really a business partner. Okay, I was in a meeting about a year ago, and for one of my biggest clients, so I was a manager there, and the first question was addressed to me. He told me, Marco, I'm very happy with you and your
Marco, you're frozen.
Yeah, I think we're...
Okay. Mega, whilst Marco tries to get his connection back, because he seems to be frozen at the moment, I just wanted to add a little bit there, because this issue regarding hygiene in the laundry and so on, and the cost of air conditioning, and hygiene standards. Now, I'm a great collector of useless information, and I don't know whether anyone is aware of it, but since 2000, we have had just over 20 epidemics and 2 or 3 pandemics. Now, it is becoming a modern way of living in our current society, with the number of different bacteria and germs and infections which are taking place. Doesn't matter whether it's SARS or H1N5 or Ebola. They are with us all the time, and so we should be taking every reasonable precaution to minimize the amount of, let's say, human interface, the touching of the textiles. And those people that do have contact with textiles should be trained to make sure that they operate as hygienically, like with hand washing and that sort of thing, and they're provided with suitable and appropriate protect PPE, overalls, coveralls, or things like that. And that they're not allowed to take those coveralls out of the factory, that they've got to be changed and washed regularly. All of the transportation, the bags or the boxes or the trolleys that we're using. I mean, I don't know how many of the launderers that we've got sitting here listening to what we're talking about have got any form of, for example, disinfection process that they use for the trolleys where they are transporting the textiles between the user and the laundry. Because very, very often many laundries, they will use the same trolley that comes in loaded with soiled textiles, and once it's been emptied, it'll be shunted round to the packing room to be loaded with clean textiles. And they don't do anything to make sure that those trolleys are being steam cleaned or are hygienically clean, and we're not going to transfer the soiling from the trolley back onto the clean textiles. Now, it's fully accepted that the laundry is a very hot and difficult place in which to live, but you don't have to go through all of the costs associated with putting in air conditioning and all the rest of it. I mean, and just for example, one of the largest sources of heat inside of the laundry comes from the multi-role ironer. And so, you put a canopy over that ironer in order to keep the heat inside. Now, it's a relatively low-cost piece of equipment that you just, as like a greenhouse, for want of a better description, covering the ironer. It keeps the heat inside. You get increased productivity. If your vacuum is working properly, you don't have any problems with condensation or anything like that. And lo and behold, you've cut the amount of radiated and convected heat coming into the laundry by anything up to 25 or 30%. And if you've got 4 or 5 multi-role ironers, just by putting a canopy over it, suddenly you start working in a much better environment, taking all of your steam lines and making sure that they aren't lagged properly. One of the next things is installing fans in the appropriate place. Now, one of the requirements that we have, particularly from a hygiene point of view, is that there should be a positive airflow pressure into the soiled side of the laundry where the soiled textiles are coming in. And so by having fans which are in the clean side of the laundry blowing air through is a darn sight cheaper than going through the additional cost of having huge HVC or HVAC systems installed in order to try and cool the place down. Because just having a wind flow or a breeze running through the laundry, as you get hotter, the perspiration does start forming on your face and so on, and that breeze, as it evaporates that moisture, cools the worker down. And so there is seldom any need for spending huge amounts of money on putting in air conditioning. You just do a little bit of lateral thinking and think, right, how can I improve it? How can I reduce the amount of heat which is radiating into the factory? And how can I then help to keep the staff cool? Just by putting in fans, and hey presto, you've got a much better working environment. And I mean, for a number of years, I ran a laundry down in Durban. Now, Durban is notorious for having well over a 95% humidity level during summer, with temperatures rather like you enjoy in certain parts of India at 35 and 40 degrees C. And when you're working in a laundry like that below street level, I can assure you that without fans and without covering of your ironers, you go walking in there, and as you go walking in, it's like walking into an oven, and you will immediately start sweating. And just with the strategic installation of fans and ironer covers, suddenly, hey presto, it became a far more enjoyable environment in which to work. So, and it looks as if Marco is back with us again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. I think one of the key things some of them are pointing out is the price aspect of it, where we have someone who has asked us. Let me just come to that question. As the sanitization process is the main key, this has added an additional cost to the laundry. So how are you planning to maintain the cost and convenience to the client for the new price and increase of price? So Mr. Marco, I think this was addressed to you. So would you want to answer this?
Yeah, that will be one of the issue, of course, because the initiatives that the laundries are taking in terms to be green or more green and sustainable, it's also to preserve and to be, more cost effective. So that's why I was telling you that we can eventually redirect parts of the savings to be still sustainable, competitive on the market, where this kind of additional cost coming from this outbreak. Otherwise, you need to redirect partially, at least, to the clients. It's not easy situation because the clients, I know the market, they are expecting for the same services, even not even more, for the same conditions and the price. So that really will be a challenge that I'm negotiating with all of them. And again, this sustainable laundry and going very, very deep to how to save, where to save, and to be more efficient, like Jan was pointed out correctly. That would be a key point also to be still sustainable as a laundry in the market and be competitive with the same conditions. So like what Jan said also in terms of hair condition, everything, I was only like to highlight that it's just exactly what I'm doing in my plants. Okay, so I'm trying to reduce this hot hair and everything using the fans. This is most valuable and cheaper also, honestly, way to do instead of installing this AC complete system to the plants. Right?
True, and I think Mr. Tim Bacon has, commented, Mr. Ian, that you definitely need air conditioning in the UAE, and also the positive air pressure is on the clean side and not on the soil side. So that's a comment that Mr. Tim has.
No, look, because many of the bacteria are aerobic, they float around in the atmosphere. That we want to try to get the bacteria to stay in or go to the dirty side and stay in the dirty side, or go be exhausted out into atmosphere. And this is why, I made a specific point of saying that the airflow must be from the clean side into the soiled side, and under no circumstances do we want it the other way around. This is part of the reason why, for example, all washing machinery, if you're washing correctly at elevated temperature, that the drain on the washing machine should be enclosed so that you don't get the aerosol effect when the machine drains the water into the gully to the sewerage, that you don't get the spray of the hot air carrying the bacteria back into the laundry. And virtually every single washing machine has got like a vent, like a funnel on the top, in order to prevent it becoming a pressure washer. And so you get hot air and hot steam coming out from the top. And every washing machine should be vented to atmosphere. It should not be allowed to vent inside of the laundry. And I saw there was another question there, is are there any government guidelines? And the bottom line is, I'm not aware of any government guidelines, simply because there's no one in government knows what goes on inside of a laundry. In the nearly 60 years I've been in the laundry industry, I talk to people, ask me what line of business you're in, and I say laundry, and the only thing they can think of is that little 5-kilogram machine under the kitchen sink that they operate every once in a while, and a cup of detergent, and hey presto, everything's working perfectly. They don't understand the concept of spending a few million, like 10 or 20 million rand on buying. I'm getting a lot of noise feedback. Are you getting it as well?
Yes, I am.
I don't know where it's coming from. It's an echo. All right. It looks as if there's some echo on my line, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Great. I think, anyway, we are running out of time. So let me just wrap up on the discussion. And of course, there were many questions about disinfection and the many other questions which we will be addressing in the webinars to come. To remember, this is a weekly webinar, so we will be touching upon many aspects about the laundry industry. And of course, I would like to take this opportunity to thank both of our speakers for taking time out for us, to all of our attendees who are here with us. And it is certainly was an informative session for all of us. I really wish we had more time, but of course we have to wrap things up. But I would also like to take this opportunity to thank our key sponsors, that's Alliance Laundry System and Reza Hygiene, for supporting the series. And most of all, truly thank and salute all of you laundry heroes out there, who are still working under these circumstances, providing us with all your support to provide hygienic linen. So now this webinar will be up on the Clean Middle East YouTube channel. So do follow us on our social media to get regular updates about the next session. So until then, please stay safe, and thank you again.
Thank you very much for inviting me. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Marco. Thank you all. Do stay safe.
All right. So, Mega, are you planning to have any more of these in the future? All right. Yeah. So, Marco, it looks as if it's just you and I left.